I read that book after season 1 of Insecure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I had heard about it quite a bit before, but I was like, I don't need to read no book about love. I'm a man. I'm a man. I don't do that.
Jay Ellis, welcome to One Nightstand.
Hey.
We're so thrilled to have you here.
Thank you for having me.
I'm very excited to talk about your list of books, but have you always been a big reader?
I have always been a big reader, although it did not start out by choice.
Yeah.
I'm an only child, and in the summers, my mother would make me do book reports every summer. So she chose the book up until a certain age. She chose the book. I had to read it, and then I had to write like a 3-page paper or a 4-page paper.
Wow.
Yeah, she's an avid reader.
I love that. What kind of books did she choose for you?
So I read a lot of biographies, actually.
Oh, interesting.
Starting out, like it was a lot of like, I remember reading like about George Washington Carver and Booker T. Washington and Abraham Lincoln and Kennedy. Like I read a lot of books that were all based in reality, obviously, but based in some point in history. And I think her whole thought was like, if we can, I guess what she was trying to teach me, I should actually ask her this, but if you can learn from these people's failures and successes and understand how they help shape the world, then maybe you can take some of that into your own life. I guess. I don't know.
That's amazing.
I don't know.
And so you'd write these actual 3-page
Yeah,
reports?
I'd have to write like a 3-page,
oh my God, pre-chat
multiple
GPT.
pre-chat GPT. Oh my God, AI would have crushed. But I also had to do it like and she made me like write it by hand.
Oh wow.
Which was also the thing. And then like if I would cross out too many times, I had to like rewrite the whole thing clean. She wouldn't let me use whiteout. She would literally make me rewrite the whole thing. Yeah.
And so you got into reading through that.
So I got into reading through that. And what happened is like over time, I bounced around a lot in the summers as a kid. My parents had me as teenagers. They couldn't afford childcare. So both my grandparents, paternal and maternal, were retired. So they would send me to go be with them in the summers. And they actually lived like 3 or 4 streets away from each other. So I would just ping pong back and forth. And what I started to realize is I was in a place where I didn't know a lot of kids. And so the thing to fill my time was reading. Or if it was a crazy hot day in Sacramento, California, or Stockton, or Youngstown, Ohio, or Tampa, Florida, like I could literally just sit and read all day long as long as I was quiet and didn't bother nobody.
Yeah.
I didn't have to get pushed outside if I didn't want to. And so I started to fall in love with just disappearing like in these stories and these characters and these people and these worlds. And then that became, when she started letting me choose my own books, then that was fun. Like going to the library to choose the book that I was going to read for the summer was like a lot of fun. And I used to beg her for it. Like, I want to go to the library. I want to go to the library. Can I please go to the library? And it was, that's kind of how my foundation in reading began. Yeah.
And did you start reading fiction then when you started picking for yourself?
Yeah, I started reading fiction a lot. I would read like horror a little bit, like some R.L. Stein. Like, I love to be scared. I love a good jump.
Wow. Is that the same in like movies and TV as well? Do you like jump stuff?
Oh yeah. But I don't like monsters and I don't like that. But I do like a good psychological thrill. Like I like to be like, oh, is that real? Oh my God.
Yeah.
I love it.
Interesting.
It's fun. Keeps you on your toes, you know? It's like you're alive.
Yeah. That's fascinating. And so what's your reading habits like now? Is there a particular time of day you like to read?
Night.
Oh yeah.
I do both actually. I will more listen.
Yeah.
And do audio during the day.
Same.
While like I always read before bed.
Yeah.
Always read before bed.
It's such a nice like no phone time, I think.
Yeah. And also too, I feel like such a way to kind of, again, I think if I go back to my childhood, the world kind of melts away, the day kind of melts away, the frustrations, the excitements, the work, whatever it may be, all kind of melts away. You get to disappear in this thing for a little bit and just have a moment to your point, like no phone, no device. And you just get to be fully present with this story and these characters. And so, and I also find like, for some reason, I feel like my brain is more open to receiving whatever thematically that I'm reading.
I get that. That's interesting. You're more like porous at that time.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I know what you mean. I like, definitely it helps me. I'm in a different mindset by that point and it helps like go in better.
Yeah.
Well, you've chosen 5 incredible books for us to talk about, and we also have your great book here as well, which we'll get into. But perhaps we could start with The Alchemist.
Oh man,
a classic. Tell me about your love of that book.
I'm such a sucker. It's just it's the journey.
Yeah.
It's the journey. And I think like man, how like it feels so cliche to say, but like I don't know. I'm a big believer that everything that I've been through, and this book, I think, was really one of the first times where I started to realize, like, oh, every kind of detour was really an experience for you and shaded the person you've become. But also, like, for what I do as an actor, as a performer, like, I can bring that back into my world, into my craft, and use that. And also, it's still, at some point, I end up back on the road of life that I originally wanted to be on, but even with all these little detours. And so, I don't know, I just believe that every little thing that we soak up and experience that we have is for a reason.
Yeah. There's also a remarkable amount of like choice in the book that I think is really inspiring. This idea that like he chooses this path for himself.
Yeah, I think you from a young age, we're told you could be anything you want to be. You could be anything you want to be. But then at a certain point, it's like, no, you do this, you do that, you do this, you do that.
Yeah.
And like that kind of free will or choice kind of like drips away, melts away rather. And like, then you're like, oh, I guess this is the life I'm living and this is the thing that I have to do. But I think in reality, you know, to your point, life is about choices. Like you are the creator of your reality, right?
Yes.
And so it's the more you can stay in control of that, the more you can guide the journey and get to the destination that you're ultimately seeking, which to me, again, I think my mom actually gave me a copy of The Alchemist. Man, I was out of college. I was living in LA. I must have been like mid 20s, late 20s when she gave it to me. And I remember being like, oh, this is cool. But does she think I'm lost? Like, why did she give me this? But like by the end of it, I was like, oh, yeah, I get it. And then when you live life, I think, and you go through a few things, you're like, oh yeah, it makes sense.
Totally.
It's the journey and you get to choose.
Yeah. Have you had any experiences in your life where you feel like you have ended up in the right place, but the journey at points you were like, what am I doing?
Oh, all the time.
Yeah.
All the time. All the time. But I think that to me, that's part of it is like, I think you can only know where you're going so much. But like, you know, I think of like, what was a voyage across sea like at some point? Like you couldn't control, you knew the direction you wanted to go, but you couldn't control the winds. You couldn't control the storms. You couldn't control all of it. But you may very well still end up at your destination, or maybe you're just a few nautical miles off your destination, but you can get there. You can still get there, right? And so I think in that horrible example, I think like I have experienced a lot of like forks in the road. And sometimes I chose the fork that kept me directly on the path. And sometimes I chose a bunch where I was like, what am I doing? How did I get here and why?
Interesting.
And I think that is, but that's a part of it. Like if I didn't go through that, then I wouldn't be sitting with you right now. You know what I mean? Like it all adds up. Yeah. In some way, it all comes together in some way. But I think all the time, I just did a play this summer and I was like, why am I in New York City doing a play? This is crazy. Who said yes to this? How did this happen? Why did I say yes to this? But I needed that experience. I wanted that experience. I sought for that experience and I got it.
Yeah, that's amazing. And so as a result of that, do you feel like you don't really have like regrets in the sense because you're always like, it got me where I needed to go?
I don't think I have regrets necessarily. I will say I think there are moments where I could have been more present, and I do regret like not being as present in moments. I think that is where regret would live for me. I do think most of my choices, personally, professionally, friendships, the world, all of the above, like I think they are there for a reason. Yeah. And on this journey that I'm on and this path that I'm on. But I think there's a few moments I can look back and be like, man, I wish I was a little more present there. Especially because like, as an actor, it moves so fast. And sometimes it's like shoot, and then you're gone. And then you shoot again, and then you're gone. And then you're doing a press tour for something that you shot 2 years ago, but you don't really remember it. And it's like, why don't I remember it? Oh. Yeah. Because I wasn't present in that moment. Right. I even think about like when I was writing my book, I feel like I had a few moments of that where I was just like, I just got to get pages. Yeah. As opposed to like sitting with the discomfort of a specific story or not being able to write or whatever it may be and whatever growth could come out of that.
One of the things that I think comes up in your book quite a lot as well is that, we, like you say, we do have control over our own paths, but sometimes other people get in the way or like there are these, like I felt so angry when I was reading, I think I was listening to this particular chapter when you were talking about playing basketball and a coach was basically, you were marking this player who was like a giant and was very skilled. And at the end, you like basically tell the coach to fuck off. And he like benches you and is like, you're never going to play again. And I was like, that is so unforgiving and awful. And then as a result, you moved schools.
I moved schools. The Yakima Terror is what I call that kid. He was from Yakima, Washington. It was an AAU tournament. We were in Denver, Colorado. And this kid had to be like 6'8", 6'9", 250, 60, 70 pounds. Like he was a man. He was a big boy, and we were the same age. And I could not guard this guy at all. And we were down a player already because one guy on our team had been hurt. And our coach just kept screaming. I'm the next tallest guy on the team. And I'm like 5 inches shorter than this guy. And I'm the next, and probably weigh easily 80 pounds less than, 60 pounds less than him. And our coach just keeps screaming for me to like get in front of him. And I'm like, this dude is manhandling me. I can't.
Yeah.
And I did tell him to fuck off. And shout out to Coach Sprague, who I apologize now all these years later. But he benched me and he was like, you should transfer schools because you'll never play for me again. And on one side, I respect the fact that he just told me straight out. And he was like, hey man, I'm giving you an option because you're just going to sit. On the other side, I was a kid.
Literally, you were a child.
I was a kid. Like I was going into ninth grade. I think I was in 8th going into 9th or 9th going into 10th. And I was a kid. I didn't know.
No,
you know what I mean?
It's frustration that was coming out in that moment because it's funny. I have a very similar memory of playing hockey, and we were playing a rival school, and they put me on man marking this player. And I just remember them shouting, Charlotte Kavita, because her name was, and she was just faster than me, and I couldn't get there. And I just remember the sheer frustration of like, what part of you thinks that I don't want to be able to do this? I of course want to be able to do it.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's tough. It's tough, but it was a lesson. And I think like, was it the way I needed to be taught that lesson?
No.
Maybe not.
Yeah.
But I can look back now and understand. Again, I don't regret saying that to him because had I not, I wouldn't have ended up at the high school that I went to, which is Booker T. Washington High School, where I got to be for a couple years, which is this historic high school in the city where I'm from. And professional athletes and Rhodes Scott, like just brilliant minds and debaters and musicians and just such a talented group of students that have come out of there thanks to that staff and those teachers. And I wouldn't have gotten that experience. And I got so many things from that. I got to go to an HBCU and see like a Battle of the Bands for the first time down in, I got to see Grambling and Southern. I got to see the two of them like do a Battle of the Bands. And that was the most amazing thing I'd ever seen. And like the care and the passion and the precision in which each one of those kids had was then like, oh, I should have that kind of care about something that I love, which was basketball. And so that sent me back around to basketball. So I do think that like, while it may have not been the right way to get the lesson taught to me, I did take something from it.
It's part of your personal legend now, as they say in The Alchemist.
It's on the ledger.
I hadn't read it before. I think I was slightly put off by the sort of like self-help branding around it, which always makes... Are you a self-help reader?
I read a lot of... I don't know that I read self-help a lot, but I definitely read a lot of like thought. Thinking.
Yeah.
Which I guess probably falls under self-help, to be quite honest.
I don't know. I mean, I think like one of the next books perhaps we can talk about is your book by Bell Hooks, all about love, because that is a thinking book, but there obviously is instruction within it as well. Tell me about when you first read that book.
I read that book after season 1 of Insecure.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah. And I think for me that was, and I had heard about it quite a bit before, but I was like, I don't need to read no book about love. I'm a man. I don't do that. But I think, I think you go through life and you have these questions of who is an ideal partner for you, and you have these boxes that are like whatever, and then but you never think about your own thing, and you never think about like where your influences of this thing, this being that you are, may have come from, and how they influenced you. And I don't know, this book for me really just kind of opened my eyes to like, I think we were talking about this slightly earlier, but like meeting people where they are and loving them for who they are. And at a certain point, I just have to go, hey, you're you. Yeah. Now I get to choose, do I love this you or do I distance myself from this you?
Yeah.
And And if I love this you, and if we're open and communicating and clearly communicating, then we can maybe choose a path together.
Exactly.
And I think that, to me, this, I don't know, that it goes back to choice in a lot of ways, right? Because like, I think so many of us think like it's just fate. Yes. But like, there's also some choice in
for
it,
sure.
right? And there's also some self-reflecting that you have to do as you make the choices and move forward. And that book was that for me.
Yeah. Did it change your work on Insecure, do you think?
100%.
Oh, how so?
Yeah, 100%. I was terrified to play that character. I did not want to play Lawrence. Let me back up. I wanted to play Lawrence.
Yeah.
The emotional, vulnerable, kind of walled off side of Lawrence that gets opened up in that show is what I was terrified to play, because that just wasn't my walk and my journey at that time.
Yeah.
And I will say this book really helped me, because I think what I started to realize was it made my choice of going through a breakup or being in love with someone but not being with them, but being hurt by them, or being infatuated with someone else. It made me just kind of really think about his choices in a different way. It made me think about like why is he making those choices? Like, what's under those choices? And as this show progresses, how can he course correct and make better choices and communicate and, you know, meet ultimately Issa where she is in life, and be okay with where he's at and say, this is me. And like, I understand that now. I didn't then, but I understand it now. And so I think it helped a lot in that way.
Did someone recommend it to you, or do you just like pick it up between seasons?
I feel like, I don't know if someone directly recommended it to me, but I know I had just like heard about it for a long, I think it's one of those ones that like, if you read, you hear about.
Oh, and that cover's so recognizable.
Oh, it just jumps at you. And then like Bell Hooks as a name is also jumps at you. And so I think it was just one of those ones where like it had been around the world in my ether for a while. And I was like, I'm going to buy that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I loved that book. And I think it has, you know, so many interesting things to say about love and how we all sort of like want it, but like sort of protect ourselves from it and feel scared of it. Is that something that you feel like you've had to wrestle with at points to make yourself more open to love?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think that's just part of the human journey, maybe. And I definitely think in a world where like, you know, at least the time that I grew up in, like you're not taught to use all your words. So like feelings, ick, you know what I mean? Vulnerability, ick, like we're not doing that. And so I definitely think that like there's been a lot of reading, I will say, that's like, and Bell Hooks is definitely one of those authors that has definitely helped me like realize that like, oh, I need to just be in the world and be open to what comes. And like, I know good from bad, and I know a good situation and a bad situation, and maybe I'll get burned, but maybe that's also part of learning what I want in love or from a partner. Or maybe what I need to be aware of in my own choices that keep sending me in that direction to get burned. And so I think that like, it's definitely work. I will say, Insecure helped a lot. Insecure helped a lot. As a character, that dude helped a lot. Because we would also end up in these conversations where like, you know, I was the one consistent male presence across the entire show. Lawrence was, and had his own storyline. And I'd be like, nah, Lawrence is out here like, and he just trying to get it. And y'all over here talking about he don't know. Like, he know what he doing. Like, leave him, he a grown man. And they would be like, no, boo. no, boo. No. He's broken. And he needs to figure out that he's broken. I'd be like, yeah, but Issa out there doing the same thing. We didn't say she wasn't broken. She's broken, but she can realize she knows she's broken. She knows she's broken. He don't think he's broken. And so I think that was just like all these conversations that we would have. I will never forget. Still the end of season 1 and her cheating on him, but him being vilified for how the season ended when he sleeps with Tasha, still to me is one of the craziest things on the planet. It's still one where I'm like, for a very long time, I was like, you're crazy. Absolutely not. No, she is in the wrong. She did it. He didn't call her and say, I love you. I want to be back with you. He's like, we should talk. That's it. Women don't feel that way. Not all the time. Some do, some don't. But it made me slowly start to come around to like, okay, we see things slightly differently. Yeah. All right. So like, how did we get there?
I also think that show does such a good job of like, especially with the ending, that you know, things can, when I was younger, I used to think if stuff went wrong or broke, that was it. It clearly wasn't the right one.
Right.
That was it. So done, on to the next thing.
Yeah.
And actually, and I think that's kind of what Bell Hooks gets at in her book as well, where a lot of these, not every relationship needs to last forever for it to have been a great love.
Yeah.
And, you know, I think both pieces of work do such a great job at advocating for the different types of form that loving relationships can take.
I do think you're right. Like, one of the things that I remember taking away is like, and I don't think she uses this exact phrase, but a season and a reason. And it's like, I was always jealous of people who were like, oh, I'm still friends with my exes. I'm like, oh man, not me. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know how y'all do that. Yeah, I don't know how y'all do that. And then some of it was like, all right, we can't all be enemies. Like, this can't be crazy. And especially if it was like no like crazy like egregious slights. You know what I mean? Like, you know, nobody cheated on anybody. And like, but what I started to realize, and again, like to your point, Belle talks about this, like you can still have a great love, and just because it ends does not mean that it wasn't still a great love. Exactly. It doesn't mean that like you can't still pull the joy from that time, or that it was a waste of time.
Exactly.
And I think like that's such an important lesson for us to like walk away with.
Yeah.
And remember, because like you're gonna have so many different types of relationships. Each relationship, obviously, you'll have a different type of love. And like they may be lifelong and they may be contracted for some reason, but there's still something, no matter how they end, there's still something to take away from them.
Completely. Yeah. And again, to be less binary and live in that gray area, I think I really took that away and found that really valuable.
Yeah.
There's a lot in the book where Bell Hooks talks about masking amongst men and how they sort of like cope with feelings and stuff, and I wondered if it shaped the way you felt about Mikey, because you know your book about your sort of, did everyone have an imaginary friend, or was it just me? Like, you had this imaginary friend growing up, and if it shaped the way you thought about that at all.
Yeah, it's interesting because in the book I talk about like we all wear masks, right? At some point in our life, we all wear them, whether it's with your partner, whether it's at work, whether it's with your parents, like we all wear them. And it's like, when do you take those masks off, and who's under those masks? And Mikey, in a lot of ways for me as a kid, was like, I got to wear a lot of different masks because of Mikey. Yeah. He was a mask in himself, but like I also got to try, especially because I moved around so much. So every time I moved, I got to completely be a different person. Like, if I didn't like who I was at the previous school, at the new school,
you were like out with the old,
in with the new. Like, I was the best basketball player on the planet. I never touched a basketball. Like I went to one school, and we were living in Austin, Texas, and I went to a school where 85% of the student body spoke Spanish as a first language.
Wow.
And English as a second language. And what they would do was, all the kids who were in third grade, fourth grade, whatever grade you were in, they would group all the English first kids together. And you sat in one classroom the entire day, and the teachers would alternate and come around to you, while all the kids who spoke Spanish as a first language would move around the school, normally to different classes. Well, my whole thing was like, my middle name is Ramon. And we're from Florida. I have a bad joke that my grandmother had an affair with a Puerto Rican man. Hopefully she will never see this. But I decided that I was going to be Ramon, the Latin lover, at school. And so I literally, like, for a whole summer, like, listened to you, like, watched Univision, would listen to, like, Spanish radio, like, got a book from the library to, like, try to learn Spanish. And my whole thing was, if I could get through my bus ride, breakfast at school, lunch, I could fool everybody. I could make them think that I spoke Spanish fluently. It was a disaster. It failed literally on my first bus ride. Like, I didn't even get to school before kids were like, yo, you don't speak Spanish, bro. Like, stop it now. Like, this is trash. Who are you? And Ramon died that day. But it was a mask.
Yeah.
And you get to wear them. And again, I think we have them as adults and we don't realize. And at a certain point, like, those masks, hopefully they get chipped away, or you decide to remove them, and you get to be. And sometimes they're also protecting. Like,
for sure.
You know what I mean? Like, if they are protecting, and I think you need them for that.
Yeah.
And then there's also times where they're not protecting. They're just protecting something that you actually should be okay with opening up a little bit.
Totally.
And pulling them down. But yeah, I think it's interesting. Like, I wasn't thinking about this book as I wrote, but I definitely think, like, how she talks about masking, especially with men.
Yeah.
Is interesting now, looking back at my book and looking back with my relationship with Mikey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was in awe of how much detail you had in the book, but also as a kid for Mikey in terms of like, I think when I got to the section where you were talking about how you went swimming, but like Mikey didn't like swimming or like all this stuff. And I mean, tell me about like how all these characteristics developed. And did you remember them all, or did your mom help you remember some?
Yeah,
or?
I didn't remember everything. I had to ask for a lot of help.
Yeah.
And I have a family who loves to make fun of me. Still to this day.
All good families do.
Yeah. They still love to make fun of me. I think it's just a real good, like, oh, you think you up there? Yeah. Come back down
Literally.
here. Like literally, are you high and mighty? Come back down there. But I grew up with a bunch of cousins, couple aunts, couple uncles, and then both my maternal and paternal grandparents. And so I was able to call on everyone, and my parents, obviously, for what I couldn't remember. So I would start to remember a story like a family reunion, and I remember my perspective of it. And I would go through and I would write that story of what I remembered. And then I would call one of my cousins who was at that family reunion with me, and I'd be like, hey, you remember when we went to Stockton for family reunion and blah, blah, blah. And then she would give me, and I'd be like, do you remember that one time where this thing happened near the basketball court? Yeah, I kind of remember that. Like, I think, yeah. And I was sitting over by and then like the rest of the picture would kind of get filled in. And I called my grandmother, and then I called my other grandmother, and I called my parents. And my mom is also like, the Ellis Island of our Ellis family.
Yeah.
She has pictures on both sides of our family forever.
Wow.
And so I could literally go through and just look at pictures of my childhood and like remember a birthday party, like see the picture and be like, oh my God, I remember that birthday party. I had a Cookie Monster cake for that birthday party. Like I could immediately remember something. So that was also really cool. So I wrote at home when I was writing, I had my 3 middle school yearbooks with me, my 5th grade, 6th grade, 7th grade, 8th grade yearbooks sitting next to me. And then I had pictures, and I would tack them up on the tack board that's around my computer or around my desk. And I would tack them up. And as I would finish a story, I would move those to the side, and then I would tack up new pictures from a story.
Wow.
And then that was kind of my process as I wrote, like story by story and detail by detail. I think the more I remembered Mikey, the more things came back to me about what he looked like and how he spoke and how he moved and his sense of humor and his jokes. And really at the end of the day, like it was my own subconscious, right? So like it's sitting in there somewhere.
Exactly.
But yeah.
Did you have any instances where because I've had conversations with family where I'll be like, do you remember that? And they're like, that's not how it happened.
Oh my God.
And you're like, oh
my God. So many.
Yeah.
So many. Yeah. I definitely think one of my cousins who were very close in age, we spent a lot of summers together. I remember calling her and I was like, do you remember the time where you guys locked me in a bedroom and you guys made fun of me and you told me that because I had an imaginary friend? She's like, that's not what happened. What actually happened was, and then she actually explained the story to me that all the cousins knew I had an imaginary friend, but one of my great aunts would foster kids, and one of the foster kids that she had, Damon, also had an imaginary friend. And they locked me in the room with him because they wanted me to see what he was seeing. And I was like, I can't see his imaginary friend. That's not how it works. And so anyway, so like, but like that was an instance, for example, where like I only remembered such a small part of that story, but really it was this whole other thing that was happening. And she painted that in for me.
I love those scenes of you and Damon when you talk about, I think it was when you were in the garden and you sort of like gradually move toward each other.
Slowly move toward each other. Yeah. No words.
No words.
No words. You just play a little bit closer and then a little bit closer and then a little bit closer, which is such a kid thing to do.
It's such a kid thing to do. I mean, it's kind of what adults are like in workplaces a little bit as well. Like you sort of are like.
Yeah. And then you finally like, hey, what you doing?
Yeah,
and
exactly.
then you like start to talk a little bit. And you're like, oh, you're cool. Okay. Yeah.
I read somewhere that you said your daughter has an imaginary friend.
Oh my God, Jack.
Jack,
Jack has actually kind of disappeared lately.
Interesting.
You know when Jack disappeared? When my son came, because I have 2 kids, and when my son is a little over a year old now, and Jack slowly started to disappear last summer when the baby was born. Crazy, right?
Yeah.
Crazy.
And do you ask her about it? Like, is Jack still around, or you just kind of...
I haven't asked. I actually have not. She used to do this thing where she used to talk about cousins, and she would be like, I have 21 cousins. And I'd be like, do you? And they're all going to come stay with me. And I'd be like,
okay.
Did grandma tell you that? Like, who? Because we have a big family. So I'm like, did grandma tell you that cousins are coming?
Yeah.
But over time it became Jack, and there's been some incident. There's been like painting the floor as opposed to painting paper. I'm not sure Jack would want to do that, but he did, and a few other things along the way. But then Jack, literally, as our son came, Jack slowly started to disappear. So like now that she has, he's still a baby, obviously, like can't speak yet.
Yeah,
but like now
she's got someone to blame for the paint on the floor.
She's got someone to play with and blame and kind of love, squeeze to death because she loves him so much. It's been fun though.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah,
that's lovely. Fun. Talking of someone else, Barack Obama, with his book, which I'd like obviously listened to the speech and read sections of it, but I'd never read it cover to cover. But The Audacity of Hope, I think I was just struck, especially compared to where we are now, at like his ability to like drag nuance into everything. But tell me about your love of that book.
It's the first time where I was like, oh, I'm gonna read a book by a politician. Like, I will say that. Like, it was the first time I was like, oh, this is interesting. Okay, cool. Who's this dude from Chicago? Yeah. Oh, okay. But I think when the ideals of a world that you grew up with start to shake off and reality starts to become of like what we're in, I don't know. It struck me, the title even struck me as like, it's crazy to believe in hope. Like, it's crazy at times, right? To believe in hope. Like in the world we're in right now, it's kind of crazy to believe in hope. And I remember like listening to a speech, and I remember going like, oh, I want to know more about this like young senator from Illinois. And I think might have read his first book.
His memoir.
I think I read that first and then read Audacity, and just remember being like, oh yeah, we can all find a way to coexist together and just be good to people and want the best and want our environment to last and our children to have and our differences to be like, yo, I love that you got an accent. Like I that's dope. Like, you know what I mean? Like we can just there is a world in which we can do that, and it doesn't have to put us against each other or make someone less than. Yeah. And I don't know. It was just a reminder of that for me. It was just a reminder of like the hope in humanity. Yeah. It's just a reminder of humanity for me.
He truly is like a once in a generation politician reading that book. Just the amount of vision, and because obviously now it's like 20 years old as a book, but
crazy.
Which is crazy, and it's sort of startling in some ways, the way that how much of what he's describing feels like evergreen problems, and how much more fraught I would say the political system has become since he wrote it. But his ability to sort of sell people on ideas without having to lurch to these extremes, and like it's so incredible.
But I think that's the simplicity of it is also the power of it.
Yes.
Because it's actually wildly simple. Yeah. Like all the things that he talks about, to your point, like all the ideas that he talks about, they're wildly simple. It's not like they're like, oh, I don't understand that. That's crazy. It's actually very like cut and dry. Yeah. And I think that is another thing that appealed to me, is like, sometimes I think we're shot tons of information to be confused. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Or it's oh, you won't understand it. It's too murky. It's too many layers to it, and it's da-da-da-da-da. And you're like, all right, cool. Yeah. But it's like, no, there's actually some very basic things that, like, if we always keep people in mind and wanting the best for people, then we know how to achieve, and we know how to like tick these boxes to make the world a better place, and to make everyone feel represented and safe and healthy, and all these different educated and all these things.
And like rising tide raises all boats vibe.
All boats. Like at all times. Yeah. And I don't, it's weird that we like go through these cyclical things where like people just forget that in time.
Exactly.
It's such a weird thing.
It really is. And he is, it's so, like, there's nothing polarizing in that book, in the sense of when you think about, that's the chief word that you hear people describe politics as, polarizing. And it's so, it's so singular in that way. And I read that you went to the White House and did some work with his initiative, My Brother's Keeper, right? Tell me about that experience.
Yeah, I got to host the last and moderate the last My Brother's Keeper, which is one of his initiatives. that he created while he was in the White House. I got to go to the White House for it was the last, that was in January. So it was just before.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Post-election,
It was post-election. It was either in December or it was December because the Christmas party was after that, and I did not go. Thanks for not inviting me. But I got to go to the White House, and that was really remarkable. And it was cool to like go sit in this room and see all these young boys who looked like a young me that I then go write about a few years later, and from all over the country, who are all like dressed in like suits, and they got their ties, and they're gonna spend a week bopping around the White House and the Eisenhower building and all in the Capitol and all around DC, and learning about government, but also learning about like responsibility and authenticity and identity. And I don't know, it was really cool. It was an honor to be able to do that. And then I got like a tour, like a back tour of the White House, which was super
oh my
cool.
God, like what kind of stuff? Like
I got to go down to where the Situation Room is. I didn't get to go in the Oval Office, but I got to go like the windows that are behind. I got to go like look through the windows of the Oval Office. I'm like, oh, that's a family picture. And then I went into I really wanted to see the kitchen. Because I was like, what does a kitchen of the White House look like? Like, how massive of are we talking like an industrial kitchen? Which it is, because they obviously have like parties for dinners for tons of people. Got to see that. Got to see all of the different rooms. Didn't see any of the bedrooms.
Yeah.
But got to see all of the main rooms downstairs, which was really, really cool.
Wow.
Yeah.
Incredible.
That was really, really cool.
Did you meet any of the family? Were they there? Or
No, none of them were there. He actually was. I met him. He was in the White House. I did not meet any of the family. I've since met them all, but I didn't meet anyone else there on that trip except for him, because he came in to talk to the kids.
Amazing.
While I was there. Yeah.
I love Michelle Obama's podcast with her brother. It's so good.
Yeah, it's great.
And the sort of like bantering and the vibe. It's I the last section I read was in the Obama book was about family, and when Obama's describing his meeting Michelle and the sort of like I don't know, I just think he so beautifully captures that sort of thing that happens when you meet someone and you have your path that you think you're going on, and he describes her like the glint in her eye when she's like, oh, this might knock me off course, and which I think is just so beautifully put.
I think it's great. It's fun because like that I love that story, because also too like you see these two like forces that like are like literally on their own path, and then all of a sudden like collide, and then you're like, well, where is it gonna go? What's gonna happen now? Yeah. And it's really beautiful. Like, it's really beautiful.
It is.
Yeah.
And in that same story, he talks about how he was feeling a bit conflicted about the fact that he'd taken this internship at a law firm after his 3 years of community work, and how he was wondering if, am I compromising too much? Have you ever felt that in your own life, where you're sort of like balancing that like idealism and pragmatism?
I don't know. I mean, sometimes I think like, should I work more, or am I not working enough? Sometimes I think that. Yeah. I think a why is really important, which I think ultimately is what he kind of gets to, and like why he settles in the direction that he goes, because his why was still his why in his community work, and his why in going to do this internship, and ultimately but going into like the why is the same all the way across, right? And I think for me anyway, I think when I am very locked into my why am I writing this book? Why am I choosing this project? Why am I doing this film? Then all of the things align. Yeah. They feel like they align, or even if they don't align, they feel like I may not see. Yeah. I may not be able to like see where exactly it's going to take me, but I have a feeling that like I'm doing it because of this reason and of this why. So like I'm good with wherever it goes. Yeah. And I don't know, I think that's hard. I mean, I've definitely at times for sure been like, oh, do I need to do this job? Why am I doing this job?
Interesting.
Should I do this job? I've definitely had that feeling before. Yeah. Where I've questioned work before.
Yeah. Tell me about the book. So when did you decide to write it, and why? What was your why for that?
Yeah, I decided, it's interesting. So in the pandemic, we obviously couldn't go on sets because they were all closed. Hollywood was pretty much shut down, as the world was. And so I started thinking about like, we were going back and forth to my parents' house. My parents live in LA. We were going back and forth to my parents' house a bunch. And my mom was at the time kind of putting all these pictures together in this big thing. And I started looking at them, and then that got me thinking about my childhood, which then got me thinking about my imaginary friends. And then I told a couple stories on my Instagram about my imaginary friend, and they kind of blew up.
Yeah.
And people started like commenting about their imaginary friend, or they wish they had one, or their sister had one, or their kid has one. And so I did another one, and then like it was the same response, and I did another one, and it kind of went away, and I went back to work. And for like the next year and a half, 2 years, I just kept thinking, no, it's probably next year actually. I just kept thinking to myself, actually it wasn't even a year, because that was in March. And by August of 2020, I had met with my editor. So that was in March, April of 2020. And by August of 2020, I had met with Nicole, my editor over at One World. And I just couldn't let it go. I was just like, oh man, I got all these crazy stories from growing up. And this imaginary friend who was there for so much of it. I just want to start writing these stories. So I actually did not know what I was doing. And I actually just started writing. Yeah. I was writing stories, and I wrote what I thought was 5 chapters. And now after writing a book, it was at best half a chapter. At best half a chapter.
Nicole was like, I have some notes.
Yeah. But I wrote this all, and then I sent it to someone I was working with at the time. And I was like, hey, could you take a look at this? Like, I think I have a book. I don't know, but I think it's a book. And then they were like, I don't know what this is, but I'm going to send it to a book agent. And they sent it over to Albert, my book agent. And he called me literally the next day.
Oh, wow.
And he was like, you have really fast, New Yorker, you have a book. Here's what you're going to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. And you're going to do that. And then we're going to do this. And you're going to rewrite this. And you're going to rewrite that. And then you're going to put it together. And then you're going to send it to me. And then I'm going to look at it one more time. And then we're going to go do it again. And then like really, really fast. Really, really, really fast. That's not his voice, but that's how fast he talks.
Yeah.
And so I followed Albert's instructions. And it was fun because he gave me so many ideas in terms of where I could go with like a book proposal and how I could have fun with it. And so I did. And I put together this book proposal, took a few pieces of the writing that I had already done as like a sample, sent that out, and all of a sudden I was writing a book.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Would you ever want to adapt it into a TV show or movie?
Yeah, that would be fun.
I think it would be amazing.
It'd be fun. I'm going to do a one-man show next year.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, based off the book. Yeah, so that'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah,
I'm super excited about that. I'm gonna do it in I think the fall of 26, but at the Apollo next year.
Oh, amazing.
So that'll be fun, and then maybe a show.
Yeah,
I definitely think like especially now that I've had some distance from it, now there's been a little bit of time. I loved Everybody Hates Chris growing up, and it reminds me of that. Did you ever watch Moonboy?
No.
Do you know Moonboy?
No.
Chris O'Dowd did a show called Moonboy about his childhood imaginary friend, essentially. That pretty much, I think he's Irish.
Okay.
I think, but it pretty much just aired where he is from.
Yeah.
And maybe all over the UK. But I just remember watching that, and I was like, oh, this is a cool show. I would do it like this. And like my version would look like this. And that was years ago. And then Everybody Hates Chris is something that always jumped out to me because kind of the voiceover that Chris Rock uses as he tells these stories and narrates these stories to me is like, oh, that's Mikey.
Yeah.
Like that would be Mikey, but he would just be personified. But I thought about it. Yeah. I just haven't done it, but I thought about it.
I think it would be great. And I think
I also loved Drop Dead Fred growing up. Horrible movie, but loved it.
But I think
not horrible, but
yeah.
It's for kids.
But you've also done such a great job at this book is obviously about your experience, but it tells you so much of like as a British person about America and all of these different cities in America and places and what was happening in these periods, like culturally, politically, historically. Like it was, it's such a like insight into a period as well.
It's based in like a 10-year time span through my childhood. But even for me, as I was writing it, to understand my childhood, I needed to understand the world that I was in and how those cities, the country, the world were all kind of infiltrating into my thoughts and my beliefs and my reactions. And so, I went back and like, I would literally go back for every single year that I wrote. I would go back and like Wikipedia every event that happened in that year. And like, did I remember them? Did I not remember them? Did they jump out at me? Like for some reason, I don't remember what year it was, but the Elian Gonzalez story has always jumped out to me. He was this little boy from Cuba who was born in Miami, but there was the question of like, do you deport the parents or do you keep the parents here? Because he was born here or he was here on U.S. soil. So do the parents get to be here with him? I don't think he was born here, but he was here on U.S. soil. Do the parents get to be with him or not be with him? And for whatever reason, that story is stuck in my head. That was in the 90s. So like forever. But like just little things like that. And then that made me think about, while I'm writing in a particular year, I just want to know what happened in that year and did it affect me in some way.
Yeah.
Like I remember the Oklahoma City bombing in 6th or 7th grade. I think I was in 7th grade. And I remember us getting under our desk.
Wow.
And then after realizing there was no threat in Tulsa, which was about an hour away from the Oklahoma City, a little over an hour away from Oklahoma City, we then had a moment of silence. But none of us understood what was happening because we didn't have televisions, we didn't have phones, so none of us knew what was happening in the moment. And so just little things like that, where it's like the nuances of the city, the community, the churches, the schools, the people were all so kind of shaded by the larger world that we were living in and how we were processing that world.
Totally. Well, one of your other books, Chain Gang All Stars, which I this is the only book I didn't completely finish, and I was going to, sometimes if I don't do that, I like Google the plot, but I didn't Google it because I want to read it to find out what happened. But it's so good.
Chain Gang is fun. Chain Gang is like, I don't even know how to explain it. He's brilliant, first of all. Right? But essentially, you all these prisoners are essentially like fighting on like live streams for prizes.
Gladiators,
like
basically.
Gladiators, basically. And I don't know, he just does such a, first of all, his characters are brilliant. They're all wildly different. And in a weird way, they are all someone you know.
Yes, yes.
Which is really cool.
Yeah.
So you can immediately, even if you can't necessarily identify someone directly, you can go like, oh, I kind of know a person like that. Right? Or I've been around, or I've seen a person like that. So that's interesting because it makes it very familiar very quickly. But I also think what's interesting is like the lens at which he talks about our incarceration system, I think is also like doing it in a novel, but, and obviously with lots of liberties, but like when you really boil down to it, I don't know. There's just, again, it's a fun read. It's a fun read.
It's incredible. And the footnotes and the fact that some of them, like so many of them are not fiction, like those little footnotes. And it's incredible in these characters. And it's incredibly sort of moving. And it is like a punch to the gut sometimes when you like go down to one of those footnotes and you're like, wait, what law? Yeah. Like, or whatever it is.
Yeah. Yeah, but also, again, but done in a way that's like so entertaining.
Oh, totally.
You know what I mean? Yeah. Like it never feels like I'm shoving something. He's not actually. It never, like, that's not what this book is. But you are also learning while being fully entertained. Yeah. Which I think is like, you know, it's brilliant. It's the medicine in the soup or whatever, the vitamin in whatever, however the saying goes. Like it's I don't know, it's brilliant.
The stuff with the silencing as well, and the like things on their wrists that mean that they can't make a noise. And then like I think a few days ago I read the bit about Emily, the wife of one of the who like is ostensibly against it, but then just kind of ends up getting into it, and that he has her like talking to herself when and I was like, that's such a like just it's just so beautifully executed to show that.
And it's funny because we've since met and have become friends. And after I had read the book, and I actually DM'd him and was like, yo, I love your book. Oh. And I asked him if he would do, my very first book event was here in New York City, and he actually was a part of it. And it's funny because we came at each other. I was like, yo, I'm such a fan, bro. Like, your book is crazy. Like, what? And I read your previous book, and like, And then he's like, Insecure, and Top Gun, and like Escape Room, and the game, and like we're talking about all this stuff. And I don't know, we sat down and we just started talking. I was like, man, what was your process? Yeah. And he was like, I just wanted to go tell a story. Yeah. That was something that I kind of knew and felt familiar to me, but was also something that at the same time was not grounded, in order for people to be able to kind of disappear in it, but in that disappearing in it, walk away with like, you feel so much. Yeah. I don't know. It's just brilliant. He's brilliant. He's great.
You have an incredible chapter in your book in which you talk about an experience where, like, your school took a bunch of students down to a sort of a penal institution. And I know that now I think you volunteer at Inside Out Writers as well. I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about that experience.
Yeah, I got in 8th grade, the security guard at our school who had a crush on my mom.
Well, that was one of the parts as well that I thought your book did so beautifully, is showing the way that these like bit part characters in life shape these like crazy experiences.
This is a dude who like paid no attention to him. Literally an entire school year paid no attention, because I transferred in 7th grade to a new school for 8th grade. Paid no attention to this dude. He was just like, he was there to keep us safe, right? He was there to make sure, like, if fights broke out, he'd break them up and make sure that nobody was coming onto the campus that didn't need to be there or whatever. But he had a crush on my mom, and he would always try to holler at my mom every single time, like, she had to come to school for something. And I'd be like, bro, like, what are you doing, man? First of all, my pops is in the house, and he's gonna come down here. You do not want to see him. But also, like, this is crazy, bro. Stop hitting on my mom. Like, you gonna be my stepdad? Like, what are you doing? And anyway, he had called my house a few times. I will say I had gotten in trouble earlier that year. I had gotten detained by the police for toilet papering someone's house in the middle of the night. And we had curfew in the city that I lived in for kids under 16. And so in lieu of juvenile hall, I had to do a bunch of I would call it volunteer work, but it was not volunteer. It was court mandated sessions of basically cleaning up debris on the side of the highway and in parks and whatever. And my school found out about it. And when the school found out, the security guard at the time had been planning with our principal a trip to one of the state penitentiaries in Oklahoma, McAllister, for 10 to 15 kids to go, kind of, I guess what you would call like at-risk kids who were in trouble or deemed in trouble by the school anyway, problems by the school. And we basically were all sent to McAllister on a field trip. Like, everybody else got to go to like the museum, and we went to a prison, essentially. It was Scared Straight. If you're familiar with MTV's horrible idea of scaring young kids to be good. That's essentially what they did to us. But in it, we go to McAllister, and you meet all these guys who were in prison for completely different reasons. But not only that, they like stripped us down, they put us in their thing, they put us in the cuffs. Like they walked us through as if we were inmates, for the most part, as if we were inmates, do like cat calling and yelling and all this stuff. And you're terrified, because it's wild. They take you in like a cell, and they show you like, this is what it's going to be like when you live here. Like, you're going to be here with me. Like, and I'm not the bitch. So you're going to be up there and I'm going to be down here. Like, whatever the like dynamic was. And this one young man, his name was Dino. He was a blood. He was doing a life sentence for murder. And he basically was like the one who was brought into our like little conference room to basically do the whole kind of talking to about staying out of trouble and this whole thing. And he kind of gets in each one of us, he gets in our faces, and he's like, why are you here? What you doing here? And then you tell him, and then he's like, you want to fucking be here with me? Is that what you want? And you're like, I don't want to be here with you. I don't want to be here with you. I don't know what I want. I want to go home. And, was it the right way to learn that lesson? Probably not. But did it work? Absolutely. For the kids who were never meant to have that path.
No.
Right? There were some kids, like, they were on a journey. Yeah. And, like, unfortunately, that was not going to sway the journey in either way. And so I think it was a bad attempt at, trying to get some kids who were just curious, who were kids at the end of the day. We're just kids. And yes, maybe they talked a little bit more in class, or they joked a little bit more or whatever. But like, at the end of the day, they were just kids. And they were that was not meant to be their path regardless, or our paths regardless of if you did that or not.
No.
But it was crazy.
That was, it's complete. Yeah, it was crazy. So how old were you? Like 12, 13? It must have been. Yeah.
So that was 8th grade. So that must have been 13, I think.
Man, the dressing you, like, getting you to physically change and stuff is crazy. And so now you do work with I work with an organization called Inside Out Writers, and we teach creative writing inside of juvenile halls.
throughout Los Angeles County, which is fun. We've done a podcast with the kids where we've actually like taken, they've all written on a topic. And then I basically call a bunch of friends and I'm like, hey, will you read this? Just send me a voice note and just read this. And then we do an interview with the kids where we play back John Legend reading your words, or Issa Rae reading your words, or Karamo Brown, or, all these amazing folks who they see on TV every single day. And all of a sudden they're reading my short story or my poetry or my rap or whatever it is. And they're listening to it and they're like, oh, I know who that is. And like you watch their bodies literally change and they sit up a little bit taller, and this excitement that they have. And really the whole program is really just about like how writing can be healing and therapeutic, and how it can, if you can't verbalize with someone else, if maybe you can put it here to put those feelings away, or to kind of deal with some of those things that are happening in your life. And maybe writing is a career for you. You will write at some point in your life. Yeah. Maybe writing is a career for you. Maybe it's not, but it will help kind of cultivate the skill of writing.
And like art is for everyone.
And art is for everyone. Yeah. And for free. Should be for free.
That's incredible. Yeah. How long have you been doing that for?
Oh man, 8-9 years now.
So before you started writing yourself?
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Did you write before you wrote the book then? Were you like...
I'm a journaler.
Okay.
But I go through like journal seasons. I journal jobs.
Oh, interesting.
So like I journal while I'm working.
My God, we all want to see the insecure
journals. But then
journals.
I won't journal. And then I'll journal and then I won't journal. Yeah. So like, if I'm in my like day-to-day life, like I don't journal. I'm not sure why, but I always journal jobs.
And you journal about the job or about your like...
Both.
Interesting.
Could be like whatever... It could be, I mean, I think it's interesting. It's probably a full 360 of life, job, myself, world, like whatever it is. Like, I think I'm always kind of reflecting on whatever I'm going through in that moment. But for some reason, I only do it when I work, and I'm not sure why.
That's really interesting.
Yeah. I'm sure someone's going to someday tell me why. They'll be like, you have a problem.
No, well, it's like, I mean, you're clearly going through an experience in those, like with the projects, and I don't know.
I think some of it too is me never wanting to forget them, maybe.
Oh, that's cool.
Maybe it's that. Like, I think in growing up as a kid, moving around a bunch, I think it's very easy for me to be like, later, never going to see you again. And right. And so I think it's like, some of it might be closure, because I had, like, I say I'm not a person who needs closure. Yeah. Because growing up and moving around so much, you had
to live without it.
You had to live without it. I think this is probably some way for me to both remember in full, but also have closure. Yeah. When a show ends or when a movie ends. That's because you create these families and you create friendships that, you hope will last forever. And some do. And moments that you're like, oh, I'm gonna live with this forever, and then like you do another one and you're like, oh, I'm gonna live with this forever, and then another one, you're like, I'm gonna live with this forever. And so I think it is a way of trying to like both be grateful and remember and reflect, but also like have closure when it ends.
That's amazing. Well, your fifth and final book, Crook Manifesto by Colson Whitehead, is a goodie.
Come on, Colson.
So good. I read this actually over Christmas. It was brilliant. Tell me what you love.
Oh, Colson. First of all, just so prolific.
Yeah.
So prolific. And I felt like, I don't know that I was a novel reader until I read Colson Whitehead.
Interesting.
I think for the first time.
Wow.
Not Crooks, but for the first time. And it's because I was like, oh, that kid looks like me. That kid feels like me. That kid, I understand a little bit of that kid's journey, because it's kind of feels like my journey. And so I don't know. I think Colson is a genius in so many ways. Crooks, I think, is a lot of fun, because I think it's like, it's told in obviously these three different kind of sections, but I think like it reads so cinematic, like it jumps off the page.
That's literally, I completely agree.
Like it's like I feel like I am driving through Harlem, and like Spanish Harlem, and like it literally feels like it just jumps off the page.
And Ray Carney's right there with the
yeah. He's literally sitting right next. It's really cool, but I think I don't know. There's a suspense to it. There's a thrill to it. There's danger. There's I mean, I don't know. There's just so many things that like.
And you read a lot of Colson Whitehead, right? I think I read somewhere. Yeah. What are your other favorites?
Oh man, White Boy Shuffle, SAG.
No, I don't want to put you on the spot. Like,
now I feel like I have to pull out a whole like list of everything that I've read.
His books are incredible. Do you ever read fiction? Like, I know we spoke about like adapting your book, but do you ever like read a novel or something like that and think, oh, I'd quite want to be in an adaptation of that?
Yeah. There's a bunch of things that I've read. There's a book called Black Buck that came out a few years ago by Mateo. I'm gonna botch his name, so I'm not gonna say it because he'll kill me. But like that was something. There was a great horror book that came out last year that was called Spite House. Absolutely love that. Bodega Dreams. It should have been made 20 years ago. Like the movie should have been made 20 years ago. It's insane. It's absolutely insane that it hasn't been made. And I've read that. It all takes place in Spanish Harlem.
Oh, wow.
And I've read that a few times and was like, I want to be in this movie. I gotta be in this movie. Ramon has to be in this movie. What are we doing? But yeah, it's there's a bunch of books I can think of. Oh my gosh, one of them is now a show on Apple. You know, there's 5 different versions of time. So there's 5 different, or 100, maybe it's infinite, whatever, versions of you that are all happening at the same time. Ultimately, somebody creates a machine where you can go from one to the other.
Oh, wow.
And so like, you know, this you ends up in that timeline and that you ends up in another timeline.
It's like you going to look for your flux capacitor in the...
It's like me trying to find my flux capacitor, essentially.
Thank you so much for doing this. This was so wonderful and I loved your book and I can't wait for it to be out in paperback. September 16th.
September 16th.
Check it out. Thank you so much. Thank you.